Good morning, guys. Just another video. So now that you have watched some of my videos, brace for impact. Are you ready? Are you ready? I'm ready. You ready? Let's go. No, I'm just kidding. Well, what is this gonna be? So each time I do my videos, I have no idea what I'm gonna talk about. So it's just one of those things that as I go along, I'm just sharing what I have today, what I have to offer. So today is gonna be a funny one. I promise. This is gonna be a funny one. You know what's sad? Mankind is no better than a Gundan. That's what I learned this past week. We are no better than a Gundan. That's very insulting. I couldn't believe it. I said, no way. No way. We should be better than Gundans. But after looking at the facts, we are no better than Gundans. And that's very upsetting. I told you had to brace for impact because it's coming. It's coming because everything I say in the description section, I will back it up. And so you're gonna go, if you're really interested, and say, oh, this guy doesn't know what the heck he's talking about. Every of his videos, he's saying things, it's upsetting, and it's increasingly, if I meet him, I'll beat the shit out of him, and I'll kill him, and I'll stomp on his balls, and all kinds of stuff. If you're thinking that way, before you do that, just look at the description. And if you are strong and tough and all that, just look at it and use your brain and counter argue what I have put. That's it. That's all I'm asking. You don't have to have a heart attack over my videos. Instead, if you have opposing argument, actually I would love to hear them. I like to be proven wrong, unlike other people. So going back to the Gundans, right? I was listening to the NPR news as I was driving, and there was this one scientist who studied Gundans. Okay, he studied Gundans. So, and the purpose of his study was to find out how Gundans, ants, are communicating amongst each other, because they don't have a language. Like they don't have like a mouth, where like I'm talking right now. They don't speak. How do they communicate? So, for example, he noticed that when one Gundan dies, all the Gundans of the area come. They carry this dead Gundan to their cemetery, if you will. Okay, they're gonna go and bury him. Now, this scientist from Harvard said, "Well, how come? How did they gather all these Gundan? How do they call each other to unite and to carry this dead Gundan? How do they know he died? How do they know how they call each other? They don't have cell phones. They don't have, you know what I mean? How do they call each other? Right now, actually, it proves that the Gundans could get together faster than Amharas could ever unite. That's what I was so pissed at that already. As I was listening to this, I was thinking about my people. But going back to the Gundans, so they gathered very quickly. and they carry this dead Gundan all the way to the cemetery. So the scientist said, well, this is incredible. How do they do it? How do they do it? And not one Gundan refuses. There's not one Gundan that says, oh, I don't feel like carrying that bad Gundan. He did this to me or that. No, they all carry. They like willingly, you know. So this scientist said, okay, I'm gonna get to the bottom of this. So he dissected the Gundans. He found out that the Gundan Akaracho, they release certain fluids. So there's a fluid for love, there's a fluid for death, there's a fluid for war that they emit from their body. So that's what makes them. So lets the other Gundan know what time it is. So if, let's say, if there's one Gundan passing in front of another Gundan, and that Gundan has emitted a fluid of love, that she's ready to mate, you know. But if, let's say, if it's in a military situation, the Gundan will emit another fluid, and all the Gundans follow that trail. They make a line and they follow this one Gundan. That's, I guess, the commander or whatever. You know. In the case of death, the Gundan, when he dies, he emits the fluid of death. So once the Gundans smell that, they all gather and they carry him over to the cemetery. That's how it works. So they don't lie. There's no lies being told. Everything is, you know, copacetic. Everything is, you know, is correct. You know, once they have that smell, that fluid, they execute whatever that fluid tells them. So the scientist, being a human, he goes and said, okay, so what if, let's say, I put that death fluid, the fluid of death, on a live, perfectly alive Gundan? What would happen? So he did that experiment, and all the Gundans came, and even though that the Gundan was fully alive, since he has that fluid on him, all the Gundans came and they picked him up. This Gundan is dead. This Gundan is dead, you know, and they carried him to the cemetery. And they don't just return; they actually clean themselves from the fluid of death. So they also, because they carry them, so they know that they have fluid on them. So they clean themselves and then they return. But if, let's say, for example, they didn't clean themselves well enough, they still have that fluid. The Gundan that have been carrying this dead body, when they return with the fluid on them, the other Gundans will notice them and they say, oh, they're dead, and they get carried all the way to the cemetery. And so until they are clean enough, they cannot go back to their village, you know. They have to be clear from that fluid of death. That's fascinating. I mean, they are conservative. They're not liberal, the Gundans. You know? Isn't that beautiful? That's how Amharas used to live. If you believe in the law, you're accepted in the thing. If you believe in the Ten Commandments, then you're accepted. Just like the Bible says in the Old Testament, as well as the New Testament. If you live by the law, you are in. If you don't live by the law, you're out. You're excluded from the circle. Today, those who don't believe in the law, they are presiding over us. እና ምንድን ነው የሚሉት? ተደምራችኋል አትደመሩ? And that's why I blame some Orthodox Christian priests. Well, actually, I question them before I give them the benefit of the doubt. But some of them were saying ተደምረናል. And that upsets me because I personally came from a priesthood family myself. And I know growing up, I was told that anyone going against the Tawut is not acceptable. And it's not just my family telling me that. The Ethiopian books, history books. When I say history books, I'm not talking about books that's written 50 years ago in Amhara. No. That's not how I read Ethiopian history. I go to the king or to the emperor. At that time, the kings and the emperors, they had their own, government. And within the government, they would write a chronicle, meaning a book, describing what challenges were at the time. And mainly those books are not very known because they are written in Greek. So I read those books. And if you look at some of my videos, I try to bring the Greek into English. Because I believe it's relevant to today's, to the problems we have today. And in those books, you can see the priests, what they are advocating, how they influence the emperor, how the emperors believe in the priests, the kahanat, and how the emperors are crowned by the kahanat, that the laws of God presides over the emperor. No one is above the laws of God. And if you look at Zara Yaqub was absolutely a fanatic about the law. In fact, he would even execute people if they don't do the law. Execution, literally. He even executed his own child because of what happened. Anyway, it's a long story, but it's good to read the book from its source, from the source, then to hear from others or the so-called historians who make a lot of mistakes, who write things sometimes because they get money, to write a certain way, So there's corruption. So it's better to learn your language, the Greek, and go and read it. This way you know exactly what was the thing, instead of someone telling you, oh, this is this and that's that, and so part of our problem is that we're lazy. መጽሐፍ ቅዱስ ውስጥ ሰነፍ ስለ ሰነፍ ብዙ ተጽፏል። ስንፍና has to be abolished. Sinfina, you have to abolish it within yourself, and then you have a better society, right? And I believe that the Amharas, the failure of Amhara is moving from being conservative to liberal. Most Amharas today believe in democracy. Yeah. And they're very proud of it. They don't realize how actually it's bad. It is bad. So at this point, a lot of people are saying, "Oh, what the heck is this guy talking about?" Democracy has been proven in the West that is the best way for mankind to serve. And they're gonna recite how democracy. So really, you're gonna preach the democracy to me, and I'm gonna tell you one thing very simple. Democracy. People like democracy because it allows them to do things that are considered to be sin in religion. For example, if you are a woman and you want to sleep with a woman, by religion it's rejected. It's not acceptable. If you are a man and you want to sleep with a man, that's not acceptable in religion. But democracy tells you, oh, you have the right. So now you have a right. Just like Adam and Eva. You notice I go back to Adam and Eva a lot. Because it's a fascinating story, Adam and Eva. And because in Adam and Eva, the snake, glamorous, beautiful skin, with all the colors and all that, comes. He doesn't curse, he doesn't scare anyone. He just sneaks in. And he tells Hewan, you have the right to eat from this tree. መብት ሰጣት. She cut herself and ate. And ለባሏ አስቀመሰችው. They both died. In sin, of course. The wages of sin is death. ስለተባለ. So democracy starts at the snake. We have to learn our lesson. Just because something gives you the right to do it doesn't mean you should do it. But Martino, I can do this. Democracy. And guess what? Are we better off now than during the kings and the emperors? No, we're not. Ethiopia was better with the emperors than it is today. Now look, we're killing each other. We have people like me who speak a broken Amhara and stuff like that. Yeah. We don't know our culture very well. We don't even know what Ethiopia means. Some people say it's burnt face, all that. But I'll prove it to you. It doesn't mean burnt face at all. And it's very sad. We don't know ourselves. And we should know ourselves.